We live here on Mill Branch Road, and just 0.9 miles from what I call the cesspool, because that's what it reminds me of, is an open sewage tank. And on a hot summer day, when the wind is out of west-southwest, you can't even stand to be out in the yard here. The stench, the odor is nauseating. And if the wind remains that way for a couple of days out of that direction, you can't even be in the house.
My family's here for 6 generations, and my wife's family's at least 4 in this area. I grew up next door on the farm next door that my nephew owns now, so it's been in our family 80 plus years. This piece of property has been mine and my wife's for approximately 40 years now. We built our own home here in 1987. We built it ourselves. So we're not planning on leaving.
I'm standing on the farm that at one time belonged to my great-grandfather, and my grandfather was born and raised here, and so was my mom. The field behind me is showing the sludge tank, if you can see it, and my wife Lynette and myself bought a piece of property in 1974. We built our home, we raised our family, and today we have family functions and picnics and all kinds of activities outside. But since the sludge tank has been here, we've not been able to have those activities. You never know which way the wind's going to be blowing, whether you're going to be able to have something outside or not. The past year has been a real challenge.
I'm 400 yards from the sludge tank, and on days when the wind is in our direction, it's absolutely impossible to be out in the yard with your grandson doing anything. I'm an outdoor person. I grew up with chicken manure, but this isn't chicken manure. This is more like human sludge, human septic tank smell. That when they're stirring it up to load it, you hear the motor running, so you know you just will go in the house because it's time to lock the doors.
My wife and I have lived here for 49 years, and part of the reason that we're here is because it's a reasonably quiet area. This tank situation has disrupted that.
It smells like hell is cracked open, and that the stench is just settling all over our neighborhood. I know that sounds extreme, but it will make you sick if you stay out in it.
I live a quarter mile from the cesspool tank on Porter Mill Road, and I moved here 22 years ago from Philadelphia to a nice quiet neighborhood, which used to be the envy of all my friends and family, but not anymore. You can't really understand the smell unless you live here. It smells like ammonia-infused, rotting flesh.
I want to explain a little bit about what we've discovered when we looked at the results of the analysis of this dissolved air flotation material, which is what is being stored in the tank. This material we'll call DAF, D-A-F, is a product of the production of pet food from poultry waste and other animal waste. So animal parts go into a plant, they process it, they come up with this product that's used for pet food, and the wastewater is treated by bubbling air up through it, which strips out the organic material and keeps it out of the water where they dump the rest of their wastewater. So it reduces the impact on the adjacent waterway, but that stripped out material forms a slurry. Some people call it a sludge. It is not big chunks of anything, but it's basically a semi-liquid material that is extremely high in organic matter.
With the odor, it is particularly bad when they stir the product up in the tank. And there is a cannon on the top of the tank that shoots out this blackish, liquidy material. And when that happens, the odor can travel as far as Mardella Springs. People have smelled it as far away as 3-4 miles. The DAF that goes into that tank is from many different sources, from many different states. So we don't exactly know what the makeup of the DAF in that tank is.
I live about a half a mile from the tank, and it affects my life every day and every night. I do get a lot of odor when the wind is blowing right, and it's terrible. It's frankly terrible. I don't think I've smelled anything as foul as this before.
So that's what we have to look forward to now. Enjoying the Maryland Eastern Shore and the rural Eastern Shore to the stench of a cesspool.
The traffic, the tank trucks go up and down our road all hours of the day and night. Yesterday, when I was sleeping around 12:30 a.m., a truck went by. And they go by my house pretty quickly. My house is only about 40 feet from the road, and it literally shakes my house on the foundation.
My most memorable moment this summer was when I was cutting the grass out here along the edge of the road, and one of the tankers came by at what I thought was a little bit of an unreasonable rate of speed for this area, and I felt that I literally could have reached out and touched it when it went by me.
You don't need an alarm clock. You can wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to the first sounds, and then after that they can be running till 11, 12 o'clock at night. So you times that by 7 days. That's not what we were told.
Riggin Road that these tankers come up and down, I stopped the other day and measured it. Took a tape measure up, borrowed my wife's tape measure and took it up there and measured 15 feet wide, that's 180 inches. Then I measured my truck, it's 79 inches. My truck is just a Yukon SUV, 79 inches wide with a 10-inch rearview mirror. So I already know what the issue is. The issue is between a car and a truck, there's not room for those 18-wheel tankers on a road. There's no substructure to withstand that weight. So somebody's got to get off in the grass when these trucks come by. One of them already got off and turned over just a few weeks ago trying to pass a car on Riggin Road. But the road's 180 inches wide. My little SUV, my GMC Yukon, is 79 inches plus the rearview mirror, that's 89 inches, right? Then these 18-wheel trucks are 102 inches with a 2-foot rearview mirror on the side of it. Now, it doesn't matter, the outside rearview mirror is irrelevant. The inside rearview mirror is what's relevant, right? So when they pass, you get 35 inches negative. Somebody's got to be that much clearance off of the road. There's no shoulder on Riggin Road, nothing. Just a short bit of grass, which right now, this time of the year, is nothing but mud, and ditches, which are full of water right now. One of them turned over on his side, when was that, about 3 weeks ago, wasn't it? Trying to go around a vehicle over here one night.
And we don't even have school in progress right now, and we've already had 3 trucks in the ditches. You can't meet these trucks. So what's going to happen when the school buses start running and these trucks are running and meeting our children on the road with nowhere to go?
When it snows and we have bad weather and we have black ice on the road out here, I've had 2 accidents in the time that I've lived here where I've had vehicles end up in my front yard due to the black ice. One of them actually flipped upside down, and I'm just afraid that there's going to be an accident and we're going to end up with a tanker truck in our front yard.
Deterioration of the road, I think, is a major factor in this, in that you're able to see ruts on both sides of the road off into the grass area. You're seeing cracking all along the edge of the roads. When the tankers go by at night, as they frequently do after dark or before light, I think it's a definite danger to someone in meeting traffic on this road, in that we have no lines on this road, either on the sides or down the center.
This particular location does not support the transportation of this material to it by large tanker trucks because of the inadequacy of the roads, and this leads to a really high potential for vehicular accidents and in the case of a high-speed accident, and some of these trucks have been observed to be traveling at a very high rate of speed, a collision could result in a rupture of the tank, the truck's tank, and a spill directly into one of these little ditches that flows straight to Wastaco Creek. So, you know, my recommendation would be you just don't put a facility like that here.
The Wicomico Environmental Trust has been following with great interest the appeal of the neighbors and the issues involving this industrial-sized tank. We are very concerned about the health of the neighborhood of the Wastaco Creek and concerned that there's a high level of risk involved in this tank overflowing. It's not protected by a berm around it, and so in a heavy rainstorm or a hurricane, it could easily overflow and damage the creek.
This is not normal farming activity as we were told it would be. This is industrial activity. We were led to believe that this would be done only certain times of the year, and we have been under a nonstop assault since April.
This is not an agricultural business. This is an industrial business, which that permit was not approved for. So why is it still happening? It's a disgrace. It's an embarrassment. Like I said, we don't even have friends over anymore because it's embarrassing. It really is. We don't want them to come to our house to have to smell what we have to go through, what we have to suffer through for what, 6 months now, 7 months? And again, we were lied to. This was only going to be in operation for what, 3 or 4 months, we were told? All lies, absolute lies.
We wanted the lifestyle that, you know, this place offered for us. You know, a historic building, a historic place. We get just shy of 12 acres here, just everything we could want. And we grew up in an agricultural area. I grew up in South Alabama, and chickens and pigs and, you know, all the normal smells and sounds of growing up in an agricultural area was taking me back home. And then this place goes in, and now it's like living it's like living next to a cesspool. I keep calling it, I put it on the chart the other day as a cesspool because that's what it reminds me of when you got an open sewer or an overflowed sewer or a septic tank that's overflowed. If you know what that smell is like, it is just absolutely nauseating.
Odor is one of the big problems that neighbors have expressed with regard to this material. And when we look at the data of the nutrient and the chemical analysis, what we see is that there are constituents that could result in some pretty objectionable odors in just about every analysis. So most of the all of the batches, as I said, have high levels of organic matter and high levels of ammonia. And the combining of those two can lead to some pretty nasty smells.
I've lived on Porter Mill Road since 1986, and a couple years ago, the field next to me was injected with the DAF. It smells like something you have never smelled. It smells like something has died. It gave me a headache. I couldn't stay outside. I had to go inside. And it probably took a good 4 or 5 days before the smell actually went away.
We're not rich people, and this is our home here. We never intended on leaving, and won't. But we did intend on leaving something to our children. I'm sorry, Brooke. We did intend on leaving something to our children. And at this stage of the game, that's a lost ball, because who wants to live 400 yards from that tank that smells like a sewer the majority of time? This summer, when I would want to carry my 6-year-old grandson, who all he wants to do is run outside and play, and I couldn't let him go outside. especially when it was really potent, because I don't know what kind of toxins are in the air because of the tank. And I can be laying in bed, and before I even get out of bed, I can smell the tank. And so you know it's going to be a bad day, so you're going to have to stay in the house all day.
I'm a part-time farmer. I grow mostly vegetables, sell them at the local farmers markets. I've used chicken manure. I myself am not 100% against spreading of sludge, but I'm 100% against bringing it in from 4 states and storing it 400 yards from my front door. If you just take a look at where they're bringing it from, one place on Linkwood Road, you go by there, it's thousands of seagulls and thousands of buzzards there every day. That's what's going to happen here eventually, especially if they allow more tanks.
We are very supportive of agriculture. We appreciate the key role it plays in the economy of Wicomico County and its importance in the lives of its residents. The Wicomico Environmental Trust believes that everybody has a right to clean water, clean air, a healthy environment in which they and their kids can live.
What rights do I have? You're infringing on my right now. I didn't ask for this tank to be put here. I didn't ask for this stench. That's fair for me? No, it isn't. This has nothing to do with farming.
We were told, and the county was told, that the entire disruption of the land would be less than an acre. And that lifted any restrictions for constructing this. It's built as an agricultural tank. The farmer did not have to go through the process of stormwater management or any of the normal building permit requirements that most businesses have to go through. And indeed, the total project was over an acre.
To stay ag exempt, it was supposed to be under 1 acre. And the tank itself is 3/4 of an acre. You got the road running into it, which is 25 feet wide and 200 feet long. You've got dry space all the way around it. So I think there's well over 1.5 acres disturbed. Not that that's a big amount, but it's all in non-tidal wetlands. I think the county was given false information on the application by the person that was applying. They were told that there was no critical areas infringement or non-tidal wetlands infringement. That was a lie or a false information. They were told that it would be less than 1 acre tore up. That was false information. They were told they wouldn't tear up any woodland. That was false. They were just given false information, so I think the application was totally given under false pretenses.
We in the neighborhood are especially concerned about not only the odors, but the traffic and the safety, the condition and the worsening conditions of the roads around here, as also the quality of life, which we've had to adjust certain things because of the odors at times. And the important thing to keep in mind is, if it could happen to us in Wicomico County, it could happen to anybody who lives near agricultural land in Wicomico County without any public notice or without any notification whatsoever as it currently stands. So there needs to be some sort of guardrails and restrictions on the construction of these DAF storage tanks.
Chemical analyses that the Neighborhood Action Group obtained from several plants that produce this material we looked over those and we discovered that basically there is a huge amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which are the main nutrients that cause problems in waterways. And most of the nitrogen is in the form of organic nitrogen. The rest of it is almost exclusively ammonia.
I've been in farming all my life. I grew up on our family farm. I worked for a farmer when I was in high school, and then every job that I've had since high school has had some relation to agriculture. The agriculture that we always did was not like this. This product is not like chicken manure. It's not like commercial fertilizer. This is an industrial byproduct or industrial waste that's being applied to some of these fields. We're concerned about where the tank is built. The land is a high water table area. The water, when we have serious rainfall, and we've had a lot of that this year, but every year we usually see water overrunning the road right here by the tank. And that water is running out of the property around the tank, bringing with it anything that's spilled, and it makes its way a quarter of a mile back to Rewastico Creek.
If this tank were to have a major leak or a rupture, it's approximately 500 yards from Rewastico Creek, with a ditch running right within 100 yards of the tank, feeding directly into the creek. So it will take less than an hour in a large rain for a spill to get to Rewastico Creek. Once it gets there, there's nothing you can do about it. Also, what it would do to our drinking water around here. I grew up on an 18-foot well in this area. My parents' well was 18 feet we were drinking out of, so I'm sure there's still plenty of wells in the area that are the same thing. What are you going to be drinking if we have spills? Even small spills, what are you going to be drinking? Or what are we going to be drinking, or our grandkids going to be drinking?
If there were a spill or a leak, that material could percolate down through the soil into the below ground aquifer. The Columbia Aquifer is the main water source for Wicomico County, Dorchester County, and Worcester County, and it is described by the Maryland Geological Survey as being a very good water source, but also extremely vulnerable to pollution. Without any containment or spill control is really asking for trouble, I think. Some of the material comes from areas which are more highly developed than our region, and that material is often contaminated with another set of chemicals called PAHs. PAHs are polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and they cause significant problems for aquatic life. Very small concentrations of these chemicals are known to cause declines in crab populations, for example. They also happen to be very highly carcinogenic, and those chemicals are known to cause human health problems when they're found in air pollution. So what we have now is the potential for serious damage to our waterways through groundwater and surface water flows, damage to our important water sources through flow into subsurface aquifers, and damage potentially through airborne particles. So I think that leads us to conclude that this is not a good place for storage of this type of material.
I just don't think our county wants to become the gut soup capital of the East Coast of the United States, but that's what's going to happen if they drop this moratorium and allow any other tanks, or if we even keep this tank here, because they're bringing it now from 4 states.
And we had a petition that we signed up over 100 people. I personally did about 25 homes at the very top of Porter Mill Road, and they were victims of the spraying on the fields right across the road from them. I didn't even have to get the words out of my mouth why I wanted them to sign this petition. They welcomed me in and they said, give me the pen.
As the size of these industrial projects has grown to massive scale,